We're going to get started. Good evening. We're going to call the Town of Bay Harbor Islands monthly council meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock p.m. I have, if everyone could rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Line up. We're going to have a special guest. When you're ready. Yeah.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Welcome. Just want to say, it's Sabelli, 6 years old, and she's an honor roll student at Ruth K. Broad K-8 Center. Your current focus is art and illustration, and you draw upon the inspiration of your everyday life with her family and friends. Sabelli also dedicates time as a volunteer for Operation Paw, which is fostering kittens in her home who are awaiting adoption. She enjoys time at the beach with her butterfly garden, and proud parents are Freddie and Mireya Alfonso. So, by the way, also, Sabelli was our winner for every year we have a contest, and this is your shirt. Is that cool? So, is a small token of our appreciation is you get your own shirt that you drew, and also a small token, you get your own. So this is also yours. There you go. This is for you, not for your brother. I know he wants it. And also for saying the pledge, a certificate of appreciation. A small token for your work. Thank you so much. Okay.
1, 2, and 3. One more. Smile.
Thank you so much. She did. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mom. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Councilmember Yaffe? Councilmember Salver?
Here.
Councilmember Reed? Here. Councilmember Morano? Here. Councilmember Fuller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bruder?
Here.
Mayor Leonard?
Here.
All present?
Very good.
Yeah, just a point of order here. The final agenda, as it goes into the public record, I guess should include the award recipient's name. Oh, so it could be in our records for posterity.
Sabelli Alfonso?
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. So, and we'll also include her bio too. So, all right. Any requests for withdrawals, deferments, future agenda items? I know that we have on the consent agenda number 6. Is there anything else anyone else wants to mention? Hearing none, we're going to go into the town manager's report. Mr. Bennett?
I'd like to invite Dan Bray to just come up and give us a report on the quarter. And if you, Mayor, if you wouldn't mind.
We were going to do number 15.
That was gonna be it.
Yeah, we were going to do that too.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Dan Brea from BNY Mellon Wealth Management, reporting results through December 31st, 2015. The town's portfolios have an average current yield of 2.19% versus 2.48% on the benchmark. The yield to maturity or yield to call across the town's portfolios is 1.7% versus 2.05% on the benchmark. And the average duration of the town's portfolios is 3.1 years versus 3.9 years on the benchmark. 2015 year-to-date return, the contingency fund was up 1.24%. The general fund was up 1.23%, and the water fund was up 1.25%. The index was up 1.07. Annualized since inception, the contingency fund is up 4.74%, the general fund 4.78%, and the the water fund is 4.92%. The benchmark is 4.94%. At this time, if you like, I'll answer any questions relative to the returns, and I'll move on to the next item.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. All right, hearing none, we're going to go into item 15, so.
Okay. So the last time I was here, back in November, Councilman Fuller posed the question of, you want to see an illustration of what the portfolio would look like if we incorporated some equities.
I think it was
Isaac Salomon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Councilman
I
Sauer.
agree.
So I submitted,
Give me credit if something good comes out.
so as you know, I submitted an illustration that if you look at this particular page right here that shows the scenario statistics, this I think is the most important for you guys as a council to consider if you're evaluating a change to the town's investment policy statement.
Dan, what page is that?
This is the third page in, including the cover page. Third page in of the thinner presentation. Yeah.
Asset allocation scenarios.
That's it, yes.
The other package.
So if you look at the maximum, the rolling maximum drawdown, for example, the 36-month, as it stands right now, in a worst-case scenario, looking back in the last 36 months, with the current bond portfolio, you're looking at a potential downside of 5%. Whereas if you incorporate equities to the tune of 35% in the portfolio, you could be looking at a maximum drawdown of nearly 20%. So I think that's something to consider, and in light of the recent volatility in the market, obviously your investment policy statement is working very well for you in this environment. So as an example, you're looking at maximum drawdown of 5% over the last 3 years. The stock market alone in the last week and a half is down about 5%, of which you have no exposure to. So I understand in times like this when bonds are not the sexiest investments, the yields are what they are, it is safe. And the big question you guys need to pose to yourself is, can we handle the volatility? Right? Because over the long run, yes, equities in the portfolio will yield you a stronger return and better returns. But what happens between now and then is something that it's important. And I think we're all reminded of that as investors in this market.
So what are we, excuse me, what percentage of our do we have in bonds right now? I mean,
100%. All bonds.
it's all bonds.
It's all
So
bonds.
are you recommending that we put some of it in equity, that we don't put all of it in bonds?
My recommendation is not to do so.
I wouldn't.
I don't think it's appropriate. There was a time where maybe I would have suggested to do so. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, and quite frankly, putting myself in your shoes, handling reserves of taxpayer dollars, I would say it's not appropriate, particularly at this time.
I have all mine.
Any other questions from the council? If not, we have public comment, so.
Yeah, well, before you get to the public comment, just as part of the handout for number 15,
Yeah.
there was a report from our CFO, and it's clear that our CFO has been handling our CFO duties for how many years now? For 21 years. He's saying that our investment policy is appropriate, and he's recommending no change.
No more questions? Okay, Victor, Maya? You done? All right, cool. All right, thanks so much, David.
Thank you. Have a nice
Thank
evening.
you.
You too. Okay. Next, we're going to go into public comment.
Mayor, just before...
Oh, you wanted...
Just wanted two items. One is, I know last month we spoke about coming back and talking about our annual pass
Yes.
return policy. I was working on that, and I'll have it ready for next month.
Yep.
And our consultant that I had review our noise ordinance and do some work around the town recording, and he wants to present that report. He will be here in March. He could not make it due to a conflict, and being that he's coming from Gainesville,
Oh, yeah.
but he will be here in March.
Okay,
I'll let you know.
great. So we're going to have the consent agenda, no, first public comment, so, all right. We have Victor Meyer.
Sorry, no wave off.
Good evening.
Good evening, Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. I bring up our mailer again, and this time for a suggestion. I think you noted that, Mr. Mayor, can we do more to keep our children safe? And personally, I'm always extremely skeptical when legislation, or whatever is enacted under the auspices of keeping our children safe, because that's a huge slippery slope going down. At any rate, one of my neighbors had been floating around an idea, and I don't know if I ever made it formally to anyone in the town's administrative offices. I know he may have mentioned it to any of you. It might have been at a planning and zoning meeting. It might have been one of these meetings where he had talked about after the first street on our East Island to go ahead and make them one-way all the way around. And you have, on either side, you can build or create wider walking paths, bike paths, and things of that sort that would keep our children safer. Also, if you do it with, landscaping or however it is that you want to do it in stages, you would actually have something that would be very enticing to investors and developers as they're building all of these buildings around, where you can kind of create a better walking community than we have right now. Because if our police department has to provide an escort to the children as they're going from the school to our new park. There's a police car in front, a police car behind, just to make sure that they're safe. And actually, even if you're just driving around during the daytime after school and you see, 7 or 8-year-olds, just walking around there, it would be kind of nice if there was a sort of a one-way that would give them more room. So something that you all might want to consider looking at a little bit formally. Secondly, I did want to spend a couple of moments on the whole Church by the Sea issue, and I'm a little concerned because, to my knowledge, and I don't know. And again, it's to my knowledge, so I don't know all of the facts straight out, but to my knowledge, I'm not sure of anything that the Church by the Sea has done to benefit our town. Any donations have been made in kind or in time to support any of our activities, our programs in any way, shape, or form. There has been no interaction with the community at large with respect to what they are planning to do, at the corner there on Kane Concourse. There have been no public meetings, no open workshops, no communication, no nothing. And it seems to me that this is kind of an in-your-face project, and it will fundamentally alter the nature and culture of this town for generations to come. And I think that there needs to be some kind of give and take, some kind of communication in terms of shaping, this project. I'm not opposed to a church there, but I do think that we should have more of a say in terms of the design, the scope, a whole bunch of things, attenuated to this entire project, that it seems to me what we're doing is just going straight, from DRC to planning and zoning, and these people aren't even elected officials at planning and zoning who are ultimately going to decide, what's going on here. And I think that this council can't just sit back and wait for perhaps an appeal to come from planning and zoning in order to have a say-so, and what happens, on this site. There's a whole slew of activities.
He's got a minute.
Oh, you did it right, I'm sorry. So, they didn't do
You're
the
so quick to want to shut me up that that's what you're worried about, is looking at the time?
I'm sorry, no, you
Never
already
everybody.
used your time. And he already...
30 seconds, baby.
Keep going.
Mr. Miles, I give you 2 minutes. I have my own phone.
That's fine, that's fine. Okay, there's a whole list of activities that came with the application. I'll be more than happy to pass it out to you if you want, if you haven't seen it yet. Most of those activities are things that cannot be done, on the concourse in our business district. So exceptions are going to be made, and I think that, you can and should, in some way, shape, or form, encourage there be some kind of dialogue, going forward, and not just take the position that, well, we think legally we can't do anything about it, we're just going to sit back and take it. And I don't think that's right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next we
1
have...
second, wait. I'd like to make a comment about that.
But this is public comment.
But I'd like to make a comment anyway.
Yeah, but let's do public comment first, and if you want to make...
Oh.
Okay, let's just do it. Okay. Let's go on with public comment. Mr. Manager, please, can you...
I will start, that was my...
Thank you, please. All right, Francis Newhut, please. All right.
Sounds called for taking Jason's.
All right, good evening.
Francis Newhut, 1060 King Concourse. We have a lot of businesses right next to Church by the Sea. Question 1 is, why had Bay Harbor Islands government refused town residents public discussion, unlike Bal Harbor government that included the Miami Herald, when this particular subject matter of zoning, change of usage in both towns, was involved with tax-exempt Church by the Sea? 2, why was the same town planner as Bal Harbor able to add 250,000 square feet of retail space with a parking garage facing the entire block of 96th Street, and also being able to modify the RLUIPA law on this particular tax-exempt Church by the Sea to approximately 1,000 square feet of a religious institution in Bal Harbor's usage on the 3rd floor of the Bal Harbor shops? 3, how was the same town planner as Bal Harbor able to further jeopardize Bay Harbor Island's business district by changing the usage of the town's most valuable piece of commercial real estate, a 6,000 square foot footprint on the Kane Concourse, to this tax-exempt Church by the Sea? 4, how was this same planner as Bal Harbor able to approve at the 2/4/2016 DRC meeting a change of usage development site plan on this particular tax-exempt Church by the Sea without a proper quorum, and stating there will be no town council discussion on this particular religious institution? 5, under the RLUIPA law, why do both of our neighbors in thriving commercial districts, Bal Harbor Shops and Harding Avenue and Surfside, not have to provide in their business districts the very large capacity tax-exempt Church by the Sea, a religious institution usage that was approved by the town planner who works for both Bay Harbor Islands and Bal Harbor? And 6, why must our town government be threatened with a possible lawsuit due to a town planner who represents both Bay Harbor Islands and Bal Harbor, and who may have possibly gotten rid of the competition, and who may also have helped in getting rid of, in Bal Harbor also, in the Bal Harbor Shops, the burden of a tax-exempt Church by the Sea that instead recently was approved into Bay Harbor Island's business district? Approximately 2005, along with the moratorium on the Kane Concourse gateways, the town planner began drafting paper reports that were possibly changing rules and regulations that were originally to encourage foot traffic for restaurants and retail. Instead, within our 4 small blocks, many storefronts have become a school, medical, and real estate offices with possible expansions. Therefore, with this big chunk usage of a religious institution, tax-exempt Church by the Sea, will this be the final straw to Bay Harbor Island ever becoming a vibrant commercial district? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next we have Dennis Newhut. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Dennis Newhead, MD, 1060 Kane Concourse, and a few other properties. I have a series of questions. One, why is everybody, until tonight, ignoring the elephant in the room? Why is a church backed by the Bal Harbor shops trying to usurp the best property in the business district and try to destroy potential competition to their shops? After being rebuffed in Bal Harbor, why are they being welcomed here with open arms? As brought up before, is there a conflict of interest with having the same town planner here as in Bal Harbor? Who is favored in this particular situation? Why is the town manager pandering to a tax-exempt institution which adds nothing to Bay Harbor Island's residents and only benefits Bal Harbor and their shops? What are the effects of property values and taxes in the business district when there's a very large tax-exempt religious institution on Kane Concourse? Is the 95th Street Business District becoming a series of parking lots and garages? What are the long-term effects of having a church in that area? Where is the town council in this? Where is the public discussion on such an important issue as the future of the town business district and our taxing? And is litigation or the threat of it the only way to have a public discussion? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Kathleen Kennedy. Good evening.
Good evening. Happy Valentine to all of you. My name is Kathleen Kennedy. I'm at presently 9900 West Bay Harbor Drive, soon to come down soon to a developer, and I'm happy to say so. I'm probably going to get killed tonight for what I'm going to say. I am for this church coming to the Kane Concourse. I'm a believer in Church by the Sea. I believe in everything that they do. The drug addicts, for AA, for the homeless. They have to be honest, but with a caveat that they have a grocery store, an upscale one, where Bal Harbor, Surfside, and of course our Bay Harbor can go, the citizens can go and visit and shop there. And that we don't have to go over the bridge and pay the tolls to go to Whole Foods. I think if city manager here thinks of our citizens, I think it could work. As a Christian, I'm a big believer of our faith. So I'm probably going to get slaughtered again for my beliefs, but I sincerely believe that if somebody makes changes in their life, we have to give it back. And I'm a big believer in the Church by the Sea. I have worked there. I've done yoga there, and they do good work. But I would only like if they were if you sensible, and there are the sensible guys up here, and ladies, of course, with a caveat that we put a grocery store there. For the citizens of Bay Harbor, we're not allowed into any hotels here to have coffee. We can't do anything. We have nothing. So at least give us a grocery store, and a good one. We don't mind paying the prices. So with that, and how I found all this out was because I accidentally walked into a Christian, Ron Wasson. Thank you, Ron. With all the powers to be from the Church by the Sea. I listened briefly, and a caveat, Ron, a grocery store for the citizens. I think you have a marriage there, for me. Okay? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. If you wanted to say
Okay.
the word.
I guess I don't know. I think maybe I should start with the, I'm sorry. I think we need to at least explain a little bit about why it is that they don't need to come before us. And I think that we also need to extend an invitation to them. They don't need to come before us, but I think that the unknown is fearful for people. And so there's a lot of disinformation, and I think that if they came and just explained exactly who they are and what they're about and, what they do, it would probably, dissipate a lot of the fears and misinformation that is going on. So I think there's twofold. One, we need to explain why it is they don't need to come before us. And two, we need to invite them to come and talk to the citizens. They are going to be part of our community. And just, have an open conversation with them and welcome into our community and explain to them the concerns that the citizens have and, and what they're looking for. And they want to see what it's going to look like. And so instead of having all this confusion and all this stress of the unknown, I think maybe we should show some pictures of what they think it's going to be and maybe invite them to come and just have a discussion,
If I can follow up on that, actually, I definitely want to make sure we have a discussion. I would actually ask, the Reverend is actually here, is in the back seat, if you could. I just would like to know, Reverend, if you don't mind, if you would be open to having a discussion to discuss that with the citizens, because quite honestly, I've had quite a few people approach me, and they haven't heard about what's going on. And when they do, they have questions beyond belief. And I think it's appropriate those questions get answered. Because I can say that when you and I met, one of the things that we discussed is that you said that, you want to make sure that you're a good citizen to Bay Harbor. But I don't think anybody here has any concept of what's coming in. And I think you'll be welcomed by a lot of people, and some people are going to be against it. But I think a dialogue is a good thing.
Well, just a comment, and I mentioned this to you, Ron, and, in view of what our ordinance says, and I understand the advice of special counsel, or the legal opinion of special counsel, that this particular application should not be subject to a council vote or public hearing, I still think that, there should be an explanation to the community, because a lot of people thought they would have the opportunity to come to a council meeting and talk about it. So I agree with Stephanie and Josh and others that if the, representatives of the church would, be willing to come to a meeting, whether it's the next council meeting or whatever, and just have a presentation as to, what the plans are from the physical building and the programs that, would be available or that the church supports and so forth. It would do a lot for our community in terms of just, communication and information, and as Stephanie said, resolve a lot of the uncertainty as to, what's going to happen, because some people are still talking about, the church is going to be right on Kane Concourse, but, we know from the plans that we've seen, supposedly that it'll be retail on so I think it's important that the entire community have the opportunity to have a presentation.
I will lead the discussion to the legal team, and then I can answer the second part. I would be happy to.
Yeah, I think, just briefly, Stan Price, our special counsel, wrote a memo which Kelly wisely asked if it was a public record. It is, and copies are available in the town manager's office, which is a more than thorough explanation of what the law is in the Southern District here. And the bottom line is that in the 11th Circuit, which includes Florida, the Federal Circuit, the Surfside case is the bellwether case, and basically you can't regulate on unequal terms. You can treat the church like any other use in the town, but no different. And having said that, there's nothing prohibiting voluntary communications, a voluntary workshop, and any other items like that to discuss what the project is going to be, what it's going to look like, what it's going to do. It just can't discriminate against the church as opposed to other uses, and we all understand that. And I want to say that the church has been more than cooperative with our office and with Stan's office. They would have come to a hearing. They would have done all those things. We just felt that in the current state of the law, which has now come to pass, it wouldn't be the wise course to take, and that's why Stan gave the opinion he did. That's the legal end of it, but a workshop, voluntary, getting together, I think the churches, from having talked to their attorney, Amy Huber, was more than willing to put it all out on the table, if you will. And that's my
Can I
position.
ask one more question?
And they are,
Sorry.
just so,
Yeah.
just
Oh, and
so
there's
we're
one other
clear.
thing, we will, excuse me, we will amend our ordinance, just that we've had items on the books for many years that the laws changed, and we'll make the minor change.
I just want to ask one question. So that we don't get ourselves into this, I understand that we can't ask them to come to a council meeting, and they are going to design, PRC, but then they're, right, and they can get an appeal, and they can end up before us because of that. So my question to you is, so that we don't end up in this quorum, would it be better that it wouldn't be asking them to come to a workshop or a council meeting, that we just have an open house in which they are hosting an open house in which, so that we don't find ourselves in this predicament? Is that a better venue for us?
I think it's a venue and a possibility. It's not the only one. I don't have a problem if you have a workshop, as long as notice is given and it's open to the public. You can do a workshop, you can have a presentation, as you suggest, Stephanie. They can make a presentation before the council. The only thing we've cautioned against before is having council people go to P&Z, because you may end up being disqualified if there comes to be an appeal. But other than that, you can have a lot of flexibility.
Can you clarify, though, council members can go, they cannot speak.
Or they should be careful how they...
Sure, yeah, a council person can speak too. The issue is whether or not in an appeal, someone moves to recuse the council person for having an opinion that's predisposed.
Right.
That's the caveat.
Right, but simply attending a P&Z meeting,
No
attending the
problem.
audience is
No
fine.
problem.
Why don't we extend an invitation to have them, and we can use the town council chambers as the venue, so everyone knows where to go, and we can certainly extend that offer. So why don't we do that?
And I'd be happy to do that. Just so you know, they are following the DRC, which
the
is a
process.
review of everything to the code, and they will go to the planning and zoning, where all the architectural changes or, things that they would like to see on the outside of the building will be done and addressed at that time, and anybody can come to that.
No, I
And say,
understand that, but...
and we will have that,
I
your
understand
suggestion
that,
is
but
well
I
taken.
know that if they go there, then the venue is before we go there, and then we end up in an appeal, which...
Well, how can you
Well, because the likelihood, there is the possibility, but so why don't we preempt everything and allow the public to have a conversation with them so that they can hear what it is that they don't like, so maybe we can skirt the issue.
Well, we'll extend that offer, and I don't want to put the Reverend on, put them up on notice just tonight, but we'll give you a call, and we'll set that up. So, and we'll notice it, so everyone can attend, and that'll be fine.
Just for the record, where is the process
Now,
right now?
it's in DRC. They've come in for the first review. They came in and they addressed, it was, a lot of things that they identified, just mostly a lot of housekeeping things that the architect was happy to change and make those modifications. There was one or two other items that they're coming back, so they will come back again, because to go to P&Z, your building has to meets code. Can't give them a project that doesn't meet the code. So that's the primary.
Are we expecting them February 16th? That's the next P&Z.
No.
No? Maybe 2 weeks later?
It all depends on when they come back, fix everything. We have to give notice like any other project, so...
So the project,
Not the 16th.
yeah, from the dialogue here tonight, it appears that whatever they're presenting complies with the code 100%.
Well, it will. It's pretty close now, but it will, 100%.
I have two comments here. First of all, as I believe Fran said, is there a conflict of interest with Mr. Miller?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, not as a matter of law.
Now, in Surfside, I understand that Surfside had a lawsuit, regarding religious, but that was not they did not already have a tax-exempt school within their town. I mean, we're a very small town here, and we already have tax-exempt school property. And now we're going to have a large chunk of tax-exempt property again. I mean, isn't that burdensome on the town? So doesn't that change the lawsuit outlook?
Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what side you take, it doesn't make a difference. Under the state of the law as it is, the Surfside case, the Sephardi case, which I can make copies available to anyone who wants to read. Kelly asked for a copy. I'll send it to her. It was attached to Stan's memo. The tax-exempt part doesn't matter. You just can't treat a house of worship any different than a movie theater or any other use. That's just RLUIPA and the cases which have now come to interpret it.
No, I mean, but the movie theater wouldn't be tax exempt. They would be paying
No, but
taxes.
the cases don't turn on whether it's tax exempt or not. It's just not where the law is.
Okay.
It's a good question, but it's just not.
All right, so we'll extend that invitation. The manager will do that tomorrow. All right, without any other comments, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Councilmember Morano wanted to pull item 6. Is there any other items anyone else wants to pull? Hearing none, we're going to get a roll call vote for 1 through 5. I'm sorry, 3 through 5.
Need a motion?
Can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
And a second?
Second.
There we go. There we go.
Councilmember Yaffe?
4.
Councilmember Sauber?
4.
Councilmember Reed? 4. Councilmember Morano? 4. Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder? 4. Mayor Leonard?
4. All right.
Item 6, approval of a construction trailer to be located at 9601 East Bay Harbor Drive, the Bay Harbor Hotel, as required by Section 2347 of the Town Code.
I'll move it.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Councilmember Morano?
Yeah, I have a problem with it being on King Concourse. I mean, that they have the trailer, the storage, and the office trailer, that's fine with me, but the position of where they have it on the lot is it's going to be a long hanging concourse, and I wouldn't want to look at that going over the bridge every time. I would look for them to move it to another spot, or hide it somehow, or put big bushes in front of it, or just so that people coming over do not see the back of that trailer, both trailers, the storage and the trailer.
Normally they would place it on East Bay Harbor, could go on East Bay Harbor Drive, but it would be screened, and the idea was to keep it as far away from the building, the seascape, as possible. And that was...
Oh, excuse me.
No, I mean, just so they didn't hear, it's less commotion, and to keep it further away from them.
But this is a trailer. This isn't a crane. This is a trailer, and it can go over by the sea escape where we're not looking. People coming to our town aren't going to see a construction trailer. They put one over there that we looked at for I don't know how long, right there on the corner. And I've been going past it every day and saying how disgusting it looks. And I mean, it's people coming over our bridges that we should keep clear and pristine, where we put landscape on every corner, and then you're going to have the bridge look like that?
There is, if I may, there is some landscaping there, plus it's low, it's below, it's not at the same level.
No, it's not below, because they had one there that came up over the fence, and I looked at it every day, and it had electrical stuff, and, things, a ladder was on top of it, I mean, and this is coming over from Bal Harbor into Bay Harbor, and I mean, all of a sudden, you're hitting, construction, looking at construction stuff, and I think that it should either be hidden somehow, or moved to the other side by the sea escape. It would be better over by the sea escape than on our beautiful...
I just want to say for the record, we have consistently asked them to put their activities away from our residents, closer to the bridge where there's only traffic noise and things like that, nobody to annoy, other than maybe perhaps when somebody sees something. It is a construction site, it's going to be a construction site, so they're going to see everything else going on at the site.
Well, then put it on East Bay Harbor Drive. not on Kane Concourse.
They have entrances going in and out. There's a representative here that can come up and explain why they put it there better than I can, but we did request that everything be moved on that side away from inconveniencing the residents.
Well, I mean, you know, we're trying to get tourism in here, we're trying to get our business district going.
Mario Vieira, 1750 North Bishop Drive. We have a very, very tight site, as you can see, and we put our interests in a way not to cause no traffic on King Court Course. So therefore, if we would put our trailers anywhere on 96, we would be blocking all the traffic inside our site, creating a lot of traffic on King Court Course when we have deliveries, concrete trucks, etc. So as you can see, if you guys have it, we took every space we could and we put our construction trailers on King Court Course. Even though that we have a very nice wood fence, it's probably the most beautiful construction site of the town at this point. We have put bushes, we have put wood fence. It's not, we trying to comply with the town requirements and with our neighbors.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention, this is an 8x20 trailer, so it's one of the smallest ones that they make.
Yes.
So they
Which right now you see
I have
like
no problem
2 feet
with
of
the
it.
I want to make a comment. Whether it's in the right place or the wrong place, I think the fact that it's away from the residents is the most important thing, paramount. Right. And second of all, the sooner these guys get the trailer there, the sooner the trailer will be out of there and a beautiful hotel will be in its place. Right. So I 100%, approve of this.
I agree with Isaac, and I'll tell you, but if it makes you feel a little better, they don't have the porta potty and the dumpster.
Well, that's what
They move that off
honestly,
to the side, so.
this is going to go on for a long time, and that's what we're looking at every time, and we always get that traffic going over the bridge, but I seem to be, I guess I'm the only one worried about it, but I don't think,
As long as we're talking about it, though, do we really want wait, you don't have the floor, you have to have the floor to call the question. Why do we have the porta potties closer to the Sea Escape? I think that's more obtrusive.
Let the
You
council.
have to have the floor, Jordan.
Seriously.
As long as we're looking at it,
I pulled it, so what is the problem here?
why don't you call the question if he has the floor, but he didn't have the floor?
Well, have the floor.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Just let everybody speak.
You interrupted, and then, you wouldn't let everyone have a short say, but as long as we're talking about the residents and their well-being, how close are these porta potties? Maybe they want to be on the other side of the dumpster. That's all I'm saying.
I could answer that question.
Yes.
We placed the porta potties because with the smell of the porta potties is the big truck that comes and cleans them. So therefore, the truck needs to be in and out as soon as possible for the residents, for us, for everybody. So we put them by the inches, so in and out. And this is only while in the beginning of construction. As soon as we have one floor in, porta potties go inside. And that's it. No longer will be seeing
How long
porta
is that
potties
thing?
outside.
Isn't it about 30 or 40 feet away from the property line?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not on the line.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other question, I'm sorry, and the question of how many inches, I mean, I know you have the wood fence, but are we talking about like
2 feet.
2 feet? So can we put
Our
something
wood
up?
fence is 6 feet,
Right.
and the trellis would be 8 feet
So can we
high.
put up a trellis or something to hide it?
I'm sorry, what? Trellis?
Like a gate kind of thing that hides it, that it doesn't look like a...
You would need engineering and et cetera, because, you got the hurricane, and it has to be removal and et cetera, so it's really, I understand your concern, but it is a construction site.
We're okay.
No, wait, I know, but it's,
This is,
we're trying to...
this is actually
trying to be
a
on
consent
the
agenda,
city
it's not
here.
public.
No, I understand, we even
Maybe we
kept,
could just find a way to hide that.
if you look at our trees that are on site right now,
I don't know.
on King Court Course, we had a tree mitigation to take them all out months ago.
All right, thank you.
And we didn't, to keep
We're fine.
the site looking good,
By the way,
as much as we can.
we don't do public comment on the consent agenda. That's not something we do. Yes, I'll speak to you.
I have a comment.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm telling you is that we don't have public comment on the consent agenda. That's not something that we've done previously. Yeah, you already spoke you both actually spoke already, so, we're gonna call the question.
I thought when you pulled it that you could.
I think, Jordan, I know we
I have
voted,
to ask Bob.
are you sure, but when you pull it, I'm not
I
sure.
don't recall having public discussion.
I don't remember doing that.
When it's pulled off?
We have.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. How about that? Okay? So, Kathleen Kennedy, come on up for public comment on item 6.
Thank you. I live next door to the Kai, just talking about the trail, and this could be to benefit the gentleman that was just here. So we have to have open minds here, okay? This is why I have a relationship with most of the council people. How big is this trailer? If the gentleman can answer my question.
8 by 20.
Because the trailer in the Kai is right inside, and that's a big project. And I never heard any noise, but I do worry about and I've made complaints to Ms. Siegel here about the nasty smells of the toilets and how many times they're cleaned. I've asked Boynton how many is needed for all the men that are going to be working there. Remember this guy that told you this project, and this guy changed his mind out of the second vote. We're talking about Isaac, said that there has to be
Mrs. Kennedy.
Isaac Salva, excuse me.
Councilman Salva.
Isaac Salva.
Councilmember.
Thank you. You have to have so many toilets, am I correct, Ronnie, on that? Remember our conversation on that?
Yeah, they clean them, and if they don't clean them, we'll give them a notice.
And the smell is outrageous, especially over the weekends. So, if this is a trailer that is in I don't know why they can't put it inside the project, but,
It's inside the project.
it is inside the project? Oh, well, I don't think it's a problem
The
then.
walkway of the bridge that you can see when you drive home. It's right there over above the fence.
Please hold her.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Morano.
All right. Oh, we have another comment for number 7. Fred Newhut.
Francis.
Francis Newhut, 1060 Kane Concourse. I guess this trailer is part of their foundation permit, putting it where it's supposed to be. With this foundation permit, if you see the property there, I go to a lot of the DRC and P&Z meetings, so, first of all, if you look at the land now, there's not one tree on the entire property. And I've heard many times, Mr. Miller, our town planner, talking about tree mitigation. And then when they're finished with their projects, they put twigs. So our canopy trees are gone. And I don't know what you're talking about with this particular project, because there are no trees there. There were, but they're gone. The other thing I noticed with DRC and the Planning and Zoning Board is with Durham. We had someone who wanted an 11-foot seawall, one of the developers, and not 11, 6 foot, and he said only 5.5 feet. I don't know how tall this new development is putting their seawall at, but it looks pretty low, and we have problems with that. And also the public access to the water, I don't care what project it is, this is on the East Island, even though it's a gateway, right now we have no public access to the water from that particular property. They fenced the whole thing. So please answer those questions before you continue with this foundation permit. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. All right, so we're going to vote on number 6. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone against?
Opposed.
Okay, Councilmember Morano opposed, passes. Item number 7.
Jordan, I would ask that you defer this because I was not provided, I don't think any of us were provided a full copy of the ordinance that we're supposed to be voting on. Mine starts on the page.
You didn't get...
No, we don't have a full ordinance. So I haven't had the opportunity to read it, so I'm not going to vote on it. Where it starts. I haven't taken on this one. I haven't read it. I haven't. Look.
I have it right here. You didn't get it?
I don't have the full...
Oh, you
Or
don't.
it's missing some package, I mean, you can get it online, but it's not here.
Oh.
Did you get the whole?
Did you get it?
Hard copy, I didn't get it, but online.
I didn't have the opportunity to read it.
Oh.
Hard copy is...
Can we move it to next month on second reading? No? Oh.
Do you want?
If you advertise.
Yes,
Yeah, well, you know.
move it. Can I make a motion?
Okay. I mean, is there anything,
Yeah, you can move it to a date and advertise it,
Okay.
I'm sure.
so, all right.
Yeah, well, the date certain for the next council meeting.
Next month, second reading. All right. Okay, number 8.
Approval on an ordinance on second reading requested by Councilmember Reed, the Mayor Leonard, John Leonard, amending Section 2412 of the Town Code relating to AC units and other mechanical equipment on balconies.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Bay Harbor Island, Florida, and the town's code of ordinances related to the regulation of the uses on exterior balconies, amending Section 2412 of the zoning and planning code to prohibit air conditioning units or other mechanical equipment on balconies, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
I'll move it.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any comment?
Yeah, part of the package says that there are other projects that are, that actually have mechanical stuff and AC units on the balcony. Do you know how many? Or there are...
I'm aware.
There was one that's expired?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
So there's one that was approved, but it expired, so
Yes.
there's nothing that's going to be grandfathered in with this.
No.
Okay.
I have something to say. I don't understand why this doesn't address the decibels.
This is not about noise. This is only about location of equipment. That will come later.
Right, we'll
So
do
you're
that in
making a
different-
separate...
Yeah, in different
Yeah,
ordinance.
it's a different section of the code.
Okay.
All right, any other comments? If not, we have public comment. Captain Kennedy?
I want to congratulate you, Jordan, and Kelly on this one, because it's very ugly to walk around, and I'm someone that walks my dogs 4 times a day, and see air conditioners exposed. It looks terrible. You know, cover it up with trees, do landscaping, do something, but it looks awful. So thank you for taking this on. I appreciate it. Both of you.
All right, thank you for your comments. All right, can we have a poll vote, please?
Sorry.
Councilmember Yaki?
Get rid of me.
4.
Not when I'm given a compliment.
Councilmember Salver? Councilmember Salver?
4.
Councilmember Reed?
4.
Councilmember Morano? 4. Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder? 4. Mayor Leonard?
4.
Unanimous.
Passes. Item number 9.
Consideration and approval of an ordinance on first reading requested by Councilmember Salver, amending Chapter 2 of the Town Code to prohibit contracting with a business which engaged in boycott of a person or an entity based on race, color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, marital status, or national origin.
An ordinance of Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, and the Bay Harbor Code of Ordinances by creating Section 2-4, contracting with town, Chapter 2, administration of the town code, prohibiting the town and pension fund from procuring goods and services from others, otherwise contracting with a business which engages in a boycott of a person or entity based on race, color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, marital status, or national origin, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. I'm on it.
I'll second it.
A motion, second. Any comments? All right, hearing none.
Yes, I
Oh, you
do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right.
I'm for this. I don't know why, again, it's not just a resolution, but I don't want, I know it was mentioned before about changing our investments, this affecting our investment policy or going into our investments, and that I don't want. It's one thing to do the ordinance, but, it should not affect our investments or our policies, our investments.
So you're voting against it?
I'm voting against it if it's going to affect it. If
Well,
we're
of
going to
course.
start changing things out of our investments,
It would mean essentially that...
well, that's what I'm against.
Okay. All right, any other comments?
Well, just for the record, not too long ago, the Herald reported that North Miami Beach passed its similar ordinance, and our Senate, Bal Harbor passed it originally, and our State Senator Gwen Margolis is a co-sponsor of a similar statute or, in Tallahassee with Joe Negron. And that's going through the state legislature as well.
I strongly support this, and the fact of the matter is, Doris, the fact is that if we're not willing to put our money behind what we're saying, then it's worthless. We have to stick with our money.
Well, that's when you're talking about like with the green thing, that with his green policy, but yet we're not putting...
This is very different.
Well,
This
and
is
it's,
very-
you know, how far do we go with it? How far do we go with it? I'm all for stepping up and saying, no one, there shouldn't be a boycott against anybody or discriminate against anybody and all that. But meanwhile, I wouldn't want to start changing our investment policies or touching our funds that are already invested in things and start moving them out and moving them into other things. That's all I'm saying.
I think there's plenty of other places to put our investment funds that would be non-discriminatory.
All right, Councilman Kennedy, public comment.
I don't think we should be putting all our alcohol and everything in an Irish stew. To mix investments with discrimination, and we all know who discriminated in this town many years ago. So I think that we should keep our personal comments to ourselves, how we feel about other people. And I'm talking about a police officer, my daughter, who stood here two months ago honoring her mom because I was a volunteer, and she was attacked by somebody who supposedly represents police funds. So I would like to go on the record that I'm glad that you, Isaac Salva, has brought this to the attention, that we should not discriminate. However, as far as investments, I think we should leave that to Mr. Short, who is I think has done an amazing job for this town so far. And I believe him. And I trust him.
All right, poll vote then?
Councilmember Fuller?
For.
Councilmember Morano? Opposed? Councilmember Reed? For. Councilmember Salver?
For.
Councilmember Yaffe?
For.
Vice Mayor Bruder? For. Mayor Leonard?
For.
Passes.
All right, item number 10, please.
Consideration and approval of a private TDR transaction of the transfer of 2 dwelling units from Bay Harbor Holdings, 10201 and 10231 East Bay Harbor Drive, to the Island Club Towers LLC, 9161 and 9201 East Bay Harbor Drive.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, you can start. Okay, evening. How you doing?
Good evening. Matthew Epster, law firm of Burke, Howard, Allen Fernandez, offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in Miami, here today representing Island Club Towers LLC. We've been here before. We're continuing our process of getting as many private TDRs as we can for this project. I believe you're all familiar, so here's 2 more that we found in the private market, and here for any questions you may have.
All right, can we have a motion and a second first?
I'll move it.
And second. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any comment from council?
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any plans to lower the density or intensity at the site, or any design plans that you're planning to bring forward?
Yes, the owners are having their architects look at reducing the unit count, at least at this point, by 4.
From 86 to 82?
86 to 82, yes.
All right, any other comments? Here none, we have a public comment. Well, first we're going to start with Mr. Maya.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. And I apologize if this sounds like something you've heard before, but you have. The price on these TDRs is a little bit susceptible. They're suspicious. It's $50,000. It leads me to believe that the property giving these TDRs somehow obtained those from the town and doesn't want to profit from them by selling them at the current rate for TDRs on the water, which is a lot higher than the $50,000 that is being that they're being sold for here. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I didn't go back and research it and so on and so forth, but it's a little bit unnerving, when you see, that going on. And I'll say it again, I don't think that the town should be in competition with private residences with respect to TDRs. But if they are, they need to put restrictions on the TDR sold that they must remain with the property that you sell them. And if they don't need them anymore, they can sell them back to the town or give them back to the town, but not transfer them to other properties around the town, like their, stock certificates or things of that sort. Moreover, I think that we should get the money up front 100%, for every single TDR that the town sells. So, I'm all for private sales of TDRs. On the surface, this looks like a private sale of a TDR, but I am a little bit suspicious when I see the price being so much lower than what the town has set as the rate for the TDRs on the water. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a question. Are these, these TDRs, before these transfers are made, I mean, I know that some people finance the TDRs. I mean, they put so much down, and then, I mean, what happens to the TDRs when, how much is financed? Do we know that these have all been paid for by Serrano or whoever the donor is?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, they own those.
Were those sold way back in the day, or
I believe they got almost all of them privately, or most of them privately, and they've already recorded it. They own the rights, and they're reselling to them. Just they lowered their density by 2. Right, Matt, you want to add anything?
So, but usually what happens, like in other words, they wanted back in the day, they got 96 units, and we sold them all these TDRs at $20,000. And I think, Josh, there was a financing agreement or something, they could put 50% down, and then...
The first few contracts that we had were different.
And then you stopped that?
We've kind of evolved in the contract. Frank can speak to that. There's only 2 projects left right now under construction that have the old style contract where they're making payments.
Okay.
The other ones, we have a contract, and we have to close when you pull the permit. So they haven't pulled the permit, some of them haven't closed. The ones that have come in lately, we pretty much consistently got 100% of the payment in escrow at the town attorney's office.
And if they don't pull a permit, what happens to those TDRs?
Then the TDRs go back to the town. Example is the project that expired on 92nd Street. They had a contract with us for 6 TDRs. The project expired. Frank just put them on notice. We're keeping their down payment, 25%, $60,000, and they don't get those 6, and they go back into the bank.
Thank you very much.
In addition, it was recently requested that if a property had a TDR agreement for X amount of TDRs for that specific project, would they be able to transfer TDRs they already had out to other properties and keep the same contract in place and get the same amount of TDRs? I answered that question in the negative, because for all intents and purposes, all approvals are always that the town will give only the amount of TDRs that are necessary to the project, for the project. If the project requires less TDRs, well then it's less that will be sold. But TDRs can't be moved around in order to keep a contract in place.
So like if he said the architects change it, then it just, those TDRs come back to us.
Well, they're never sold.
Well, but except in a private transaction.
Private transactions.
They don't come to the town, of course.
Different, as long as the private transaction isn't such that it would keep the town's requirement in place for that specific project.
Right. This is a private transaction.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. They can sell these all day long, as long as it doesn't change any of our requirements to sell to a specific project.
You didn't look at me. Well, he's answering you, and I've been here with my hand up. You watch it on TV later. I have a question for staff. Do we know approximately how many units in total on the East Island how many we're at, how close are we to that 4,000 and change mark with all of the units approved?
There's like 110 or so with the 6 coming back to the town, maybe 112 that the town owns. And there's still, I forget on the private, but there's still like, is it on your report? 700 or so private out there? Is that at least, yes.
Like 700.
Maybe I'm not phrasing it right. At one point, we talked about an aggregate number.
I'm answering the other way.
4,000?
I'm answering the other way. I'm saying there's at least 800 and something that have not been.
I'm not really wondering how many TDRs are available, but where we are, so.
Yeah, I can't tell you like exactly because it changes every day.
No, close.
You're right. The number, if you did the math, took the acreage of the East Island times the maximum density, the number is 4,057. That's the correct number. It's where we are today because, buildings come down and new permits are issued all the time. I'm thinking we're in the 3,200 number, right in that area right now.
Okay.
A lot of people have not pulled permits for approved projects.
Frank, or Craig, when we sell TDRs from the town's bank on credit, do we maintain a security interest or put a lien on the property that we're selling to?
It's not really on credit. We take a deposit subject to closing, just like in a house.
So they don't own it, so they don't really own anything until they close?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. We have Francis Newell. Public comment.
Okay, Francis Newhat, 1060 King Concourse. Since both of these projects, Agenda 10 and 11, are talking about private, and Mr. Miller had just mentioned 750 TDRs of the private are still available. Okay, well, I did a math. And all of these yellow ones are buildings that have so far been knocked down, which is quite a few. And then I just, right now I'm calculating the nicest property of all, which is on East Bay Harbor Drive, and possibly 4 buildings are available with TDRs, and I think one of them, the person told me, oh, we only have 1 TDR left. So I don't know where we're getting 750 when there are no buildings available to buy, or private TDRs available. But more importantly is this quote from the town attorney Simone concerning TDRs. And they stay with the property once recorded with the county, and the property owners have the right to sell or not. Well, I'm always complaining because with the Miami-Dade County property appraisers, that doesn't go to them until we have some discounts and credits and whatever, I don't know, something. Meanwhile, we don't have them because you don't see them when you look up on Miami-Dade these properties that sold their TDRs. You can find that if it was recorded, and it's not. So with these properties, on this one here, which we're talking about, you say that they have, on 1/20/2015, 38 dwelling units were approved by council, and 12 TDRs were approved. This particular person, from the donors, paid for 16, when all they needed was 12. 2 TDRs they're claiming remained. So there's 14 TDRs that were approved. And I was told that now that we give a right-of-way to the developer so he doesn't have to take the town's right-of-way, if he takes it, he gets 2 parking spaces. Is that correct?
I don't know, Mrs. Noah, you'd have to ask staff about that, but thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, staff, can you answer that for me, please? I didn't even know what the question was.
I didn't get it, so. If
Okay.
you want, I suggest Mrs. Newhat.
All right, I know, I'll go to the town manager because 2 TDRs are, I guess, part of the right-of-way, and you have to pay the taxes.
Wait a minute.
All right.
What she's talking about is what the parking out in front of the buildings, that some people, and Mr. Yaffe's familiar with this, they got the parking space out in front and got 2 TDRs.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, that's what she's talking
Right,
about.
decades ago, people dedicated property to the town, and the town's policy is to take that property back, and when the town takes that, or gives that property back rather to the property owners, the original property owners, then you have a larger lot, and you're in more square feet, and you're entitled to more TDRs.
Right.
Very simple.
Okay, but if you enlarge...
But that has nothing to do with
your
the item.
But if you enlarge, no, because they got 2 TDR, that's how they got those 14 TDR. So do they pay taxes now on the increasing of their land? Because it's not
Real
recorded.
estate, yes, of course. Property.
Okay, because it's not being recorded, you know, the lot size is still the same in Miami-Dade.
Recorded. It's a real estate transaction.
All right, thank you very much for your comments, Mrs. Newhut. We have a motion and a second. I guess you don't need a poll vote for this, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against?
Opposed?
Okay, we have one opposed. Item number 11.
Consideration and approval of a private TDR transaction of the transfer of 6 dwelling units from TCPC Corporation, 10,001 East Bay Harbor Drive to Island Club Towers LLC, 91619201 East Bay Harbor Drive.
Okay, I have a motion of a second. Any comment from council? Sorry, no comment from council. I assume that Mrs. Newhut, you want to speak on the item? Okay.
So just come up and speak, and then fill out the...
Yeah, why don't you just, Mr. Newhut, you can just come speak.
Okay, the issue with this is the donor, and, okay, so they gave 6 TDRs and paid $63,000, and now which is today, but they also, in the past, sold 4 TDRs for $52,000 to the developer Le Jardin on 115060 102nd Street. Now, my count of all these TDRs total for 1001 East Bay Harbor Drive, which are private, is 10. And according to the donor, he's allowed 15.4 dwelling units. So he has 8 on the property, and he's giving 10, so that's 18. And this, he can only give 15.4. And statistically, he's got 18. So I'd like to know how people, the private owners, can give more than what they are allowed to give.
Mrs. Newhut, you're implying that what they're doing is illegal or improper?
I'm not implying, I want an answer, I'm not saying anything. I did the math. I'm sure there's an accountant on the dais here, could figure it out.
How many units exist at 1001?
8.
1001.
8. They're only allowed...
There was 8 units?
They're allowed 15.4,
On
and they
a
have
double
8.
lot?
Yes.
So, I mean, is this transaction reconciled with the amount of...
It's Mr. Miller's report that they do have the TDRs to transfer.
How many TDRs?
Well, according to somebody's report, they have 15.4, and they're over the 15.4 for 34 units an acre.
The current unit is developed as a 2-lot, 8 units complex, and then the donor side has contracted to sell 4 TDRs, which has already been recorded and finalized, and then they have 8 on site, 18 DUs allowed by right and previously contracted for, so they have the ability to convey 6 TDR units. That's what Mr. Miller's report.
Just out of curiosity, where did you get the 15.4 from? Just
The records of Mr. Miller, he had a chart of all the...
Not in this agenda item, I'm assuming, correct?
No, he gave us a chart, well, it wouldn't be in this one, it's of the whole island.
So wait, let's do the math together.
Okay, go ahead.
So go ahead. So there's 8 units that exist, even if there are 15.4.
Okay, I looked
They're
up...
selling 6.
No, I looked it up. There are 8 units to this project.
Right, okay.
And I looked up on Mr. Miller's chart, which he did give up all 34 units an acre, which we are allowed without TDR.
Right, you can't, right, that's not...
And he said 15.4 dwelling units per acre
Okay.
on that particular property.
So there's 7 in it, so let's say after the dwelling units that exist there are 7.4 left.
8? Well, give him the benefit of the doubt, give him 8.
Okay,
8.
All right.
Okay. And this particular building gave 10.
They only have 8 to give. How do they get 10?
Is that factual, or is that fiction?
They have a right to 18 units.
Oh, they have a right
They've
to 18.
sold 4. They have 8. They're selling 6. That adds up to
But where did you get 18 from, with 34 units an acre?
Is it an odd
it's
shaped
recorded
lot?
as 15 point...
No, it's a two full lots.
It's 2 full lots.
I have a question, Michael. Years ago, whenever you did that chart that Mrs. Newhut is referring to, did you take into account the fact that they hadn't dedicated the 11 feet, that they had retained that 11 feet?
Well, this is for you guys to figure out.
We're mixing up units per acre with allowable density.
Correct.
You know, when you say 8 units.
Michael, come up to the mic.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you're
Two different animals.
Correct.
Well, you determine the total square footage and...
Right, you take the lot size, number of units, and do the math. And it gives you X units per acre. It's not the number of units sitting on the ground.
No, we understand
The
that.
units are still
We
acres.
understand that. I guess the issue is that, I don't know what Mrs. Newhut is referring to. She's got some piece of paper that says in the past you determined that this property was entitled to 15 point something
No.
units.
It's not entitled to that. That's what it's built at. 8 units divided by .52 acres is 15.4 units per acre.
Okay.
But there's 8 units sitting on 2 lots, and you're allowed 9 units per lot. That's 18. Take away the 8.
Right.
There's 10. There's 10 left.
Very good.
They've
Okay.
sold 4. They're asking for the balance of the 6.
No problem. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, silent a minute.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Barring any other questions, can we have, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Anyone against?
Opposed.
And we have one opposed. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening. Item number 12.
Consideration approval of change orders 11, 12, and 13 in favor of m and J Construction in Pinellas County in a total of $128,884,066. This work has been completed. This was additional steel and work to do with the cathodic protection that we were going to do, but we had to add a lot more to it because of the amount of concrete that's been taken out. One of the items was a $1,000 credit. I wish it was higher, but that's all it's for. I did forward or include, not in this package, but send something over to you, just a breakdown of the change orders that have come down. We're up to 13. Most of them, all of the change orders have really related to the construction and the engineering that's had to be done with the amount of concrete that's been taken out, particularly with the overhead beam or cap beam or whatever they call it, and the steel holding the bridge together.
When you say additional steel, is that like an oxymoron?
Is it? No.
I have a question on the documentation that we were given. If you look at the change order, the third one where we actually get a $1,000 credit,
right?
The math does not work out. There's no credit given there.
Well, I'll take a look at it.
And the change order document itself doesn't tie out to your worksheet by $1,000. So Ron, thank you. You gave us the credit. Whoever prepared the document didn't give us the credit for $1,000. So, that's important because, a lot of these figures are carried over from one sheet to the next, and let's not carry it over, without our $1,000 in there. But this one was a little bit challenging for me personally. And I did the math. This brings us to close to 7% of the gross project price as change orders already. Now, I don't know what's appropriate for this. We don't do, we haven't done many of these, multi-million-dollar projects in the past.
Right. If you remember way back when we originally were looking at this bridge several years ago, the estimators came in, their first blush was much lower than this, and we went back to look at it because I really didn't think it was a little low in my opinion. So reworking it and looking at FDOT construction methods and what they use to develop these estimates, it was brought up considerably. usually, and we built in a contingency of 25% into that $11.3 million. Now, that's an estimate, and when you go out to bid, the bids came in, if you remember, all the bids came in considerably high, anywhere from 15 million, right down to here. We looked at our own work that we were doing and what we felt we could live without. We would pull it out and come back to it later, in another year. So it was a lot higher. So we've kind of, the contingency became the $1 million grant. And, unfortunately for us, when they started taking off some of that beam, I mean, we always knew that everything was coming off the columns. We expected to have some steel loss, which has been replaced. Some of the other steel that's in here is steel that is actually for the Bastille span that had to be replaced. And that you really can't see it until you pull other things away from it. These are things that are, they knock the riveted in, so until they pull that off, they can't really see. The concrete at the top that carried the roadway, that was the most scary part, because a lot of it, they had to stop at one point, and that's where we had to develop a steel frame that would lift the road up, take the weight of the road, transfer it to the steel beam off the grade beam, so it could be repoured and shaped. And I know some of the pictures were in that report I gave you. We probably have close to 300 pictures, and some of we couldn't include them all here because it just would take too long. But it's amazing to see some of them how deteriorated and how bad it got, like how down to wasn't much left. So at the end of the day, this was, not unexpected. I think 25% is, I don't want to say something I like as a contingency is a lot for me, but I think when you're working over water with this age bridge, it's not.
How much more of this type of thing are we expected to tolerate?
Well, one of the things that will be coming up is to basically address the concrete that had to be poured back in place. When we bid the job out, it was done at unit pricing. So the unit price for a linear foot of concrete, I think, is somewhere in the $5 range, which was very good compared to the other bids. But I can tell you that the next two change orders that'll be associated with the bridge will be substantial, probably well over $2 million.
Really?
Yeah. Now, you can't ignore that because, I'm not happy about it, but you can't ignore a beam that's about to crack in half or not support the bridge. So it had to be done, and it's just the concrete to replace what came out.
Is this accurate where it says, the contract started February 2nd, 2015, and substantial completion was to be within 480 days of that?
Right.
Is that still correct?
Yeah, we're looking to finish in August.
Because, it's almost exactly 1 year anniversary of the contract, which is 365 days.
Right.
So we're talking about another more or less 130 days.
To the completion.
Or 120 days.
A lot of the really hard work a lot of it's been done. A lot of this extra work caused them to rephase a lot of the work, the painting, a lot of the painting work and the metal protection, the electrolysis protection, that had to be rephased because of the concrete work that now had to be addressed first before they can start doing anything else. So it took that little bit out of phase. They're working a lot longer hours. It's not a straight 8 out there. They start early and they go longer. It's the only way to get them done.
So we have $2 million worth of change orders in the pipeline then?
At least, yeah. One of the other things was the grade beam. The second part of that's about $1 million. The other part is where the foundation, where the beams go basically into the water. You see them, they call them plinths. Am I right, Randy? Plinths. They're basically the foundation. Above the water line, they look fine, but as soon as you started to touch them, they start to crumble. So that's the second part of this that needs to be addressed. Anything below the water line seems to be okay, because the air doesn't get at it, and it seems to be fine. But the above the water line, that's where the trouble is.
Did I hear you right? Did you say that this work has been performed already, what we're approving tonight?
This work, yeah, this is steel work. This was where, when they take off the concrete, they measure with calipers the steel, and if it's reduced by 20%, they add to it to make sure it's strong to hold the bridge up. Because basically, it's not the concrete column that holds the bridge, it's an I-beam, a big I-beam.
As a point of order, do we normally approve these after the work's been done? I don't remember that ever happening.
This is work that has been going on since the beginning of the bridge. It's on a quantity amount, so it's hard to give an exact price. I'd be coming back with a change order for additional steel every contract, and it would be, so this is just...
So this is standard? Maybe I just never noticed before that it was sort of like a retroactive approval?
Right, they've done most of this work. The concrete work for the beams right now that have been pretty much mostly completed, I could never give you an idea exactly what that price would be until we got far into it to see how much would it be.
And as far as the duration, I seem to remember it starting in January and it being an 18-month project.
Pretty much.
Right, so we're pretty much on target with that?
Pretty much. They're having a really fun time with the fender system, which has been really difficult. The land by where they're driving the piles for the fenders underneath the bridge, but that's why we have to close it at night sometimes. It's going on probably twice as long as they expected because they're running into very heavy bedrock or whatever it is, coral rock.
And we're having those night closures again, starting with the 14th. I
Yes,
saw the sign
it's gonna
today.
be 2 weeks. It's really brutal work.
So just to reiterate for those out there, starting February 14th at 11 p.m. So if you're out for your Valentine's Day holiday, come back early or take Collins Avenue.
Did anybody run any reports on how much money we lose by being closed from 11 p.m. to 6 p.m.?
It's actually, we close at 5 p.m., just so you know. 5 a.m. It's a low amount. It's a couple of $1,000s, believe it or not. That's the best time to do it.
Yeah, a couple of $1,000 a night.
A night. I know, it's not nothing to sneeze at, but when you look at the breakdown from rush hour to 10 o'clock, that's the bulk, and then from about 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that's the bulk.
We're still not doing it on Friday and Saturday nights, right?
No.
We're going to need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion. Wait a minute.
Well,
I
we
have
still need
something
it.
I want to say.
Well, we could just get that and so we can actually continue talking. You should have a motion in a second.
Okay.
If you don't, then...
All right, I'll make the motion.
A second?
Just for discussion purposes,
discussion.
second.
Okay. Doris?
Okay. In talking to you before, why is this being paid out of the general reserve fund and not the Causeway fund?
It's being paid out of general, Causeway.
This says general reserve fund.
That's a typo. It would be the Causeway fund.
That's my question.
Okay.
All right.
Come from the money we borrowed.
All right, we have public comment.
That's what I'm...
Captain Kenny.
Hi, the last time I brought up change of order, I was escorted out of here by the police department, so here I am again. The reason why I'm so stuck on change orders is because I experienced it in my building when I was the president for 7 years, where I had change orders for $80,000, which I won, which was not meant to be. I brought in another engineer to come and check and see if this change order was legit, and it wasn't. And that is why I am always talking about change orders, because when you get a contract, it's a contract. If this is a lot of money, where's Pinellas County? Why are we doing somebody in Dade County? Why is this this is not personal, by the way, Ron. Why is this in Pinellas? Is this from Pinellas County, Ron?
Actually, when we go out to bid, anybody...
Stop the clock.
Go out to bid, anybody can bid on the job. Most of the contractors that work on bridges, substantial work. This is big work. They come from on the other side, on the Gulf side of Florida.
Okay.
I just would invite your attention that we have to date 13 change orders. The first 3 related or been covered by insurance policy, and that was with the boat accident last year.
Right.
And 2 of the 13 were reductions, change orders that reduced the cost, even though not substantial, 18,000 in one and 1,000 in the other. And then we had 1 that was for 0. So, 3 of the remaining 11 were either reductions or it was a 0. So it was only like six that have been.
And I want to thank you, Isaac, for bringing this sensitive subject up. That was one of my pet peeves, because I've had the experience, and I thought this construction company, and you're familiar with them, Ron, and I won for the women owners, $80,000. For the record, Island Place.
So we have a motion and a second. We need a poll vote, Madam Clerk?
Well, just want to make sure that...
Oh, as amended, sorry, as amended with... The $1,000.
That didn't show up in the map.
And you're going to amend the fund. It's coming from the Causeway
Right.
Fund.
Yes, Causeway
Yeah,
Fund.
I mean, that's a Scrivener's error.
Councilmember Yaffe?
4.
Councilmember Stauber?
4.
Councilmember Reed? 4. Councilmember Morano? 4. Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder? 4. Mayor Leonard?
4.
Unanimous.
Okay, item number 13.
Consideration and approval of a proposed report from Kimley Horn and Associates in the amount of $44,000 for the preparation of a limited due diligence report for renovation or perhaps relocation of the town hall. This was, we budgeted for this when we prepared the budget, roughly $50,000 to look at if we should renovate town hall, perhaps add to it, or relocate to another spot in the city or in the town, or to other locations. And this is their proposal to do so. This would address like looking at infrastructure and just the planning and what we're going to, different aspects depending on what we decided to do.
Can I have a motion and second for discussion?
Well, second, but I don't really think it's necessary to spend $44,000 to find out where we should put town hall. I believe that, considering that our sewage, that our sewage is here, I think that we should just look at this, where we are now and work with what we have and kind of, maybe, as I've talked to the town manager, put a second story on the other side. And, because we're not going to be able to get rid of, we're not going to be able to sell this facility. Part of this land is not exactly the most desirable land for somebody for usage, and I don't think that spending $44,000 to find out if we can put it somewhere else is money well used. I'd rather use the $44,000 to maybe redo the workspace for the people who work in our facilities and give them a better workspace. It's just my opinion.
Kelly, I want to go and I want to speak afterwards, but she wanted...
So just for anybody who might not have the packet, the 3 choices that we were offered were this existing location, renovate and possibly make an addition, the lot next to our new community center across from the school, and then the lot west of the Chevron station on Causeway Island. So the last one on Causeway Island, I think we've all agreed that we want to make some kind of a cohesive plan. And, we've had several residents come and talk about how the bridge is not pedestrian-friendly, and it would be terrible, without being able to do anything about that problem, to have any part of our town hall at a place where you can't really walk to safely. Or, if someone doesn't have a car, they might have to take a taxi just to come and pay their water bill. So then, that leaves us with this site and the 95th Street site, And I think by the process of elimination, really the only feasible site, is much like you stated, Stephanie, that, we should work with this location. And if ever we needed a workshop, especially for the business owners and the property owners adjacent, like Dr. Whittle's office, he owns the parking lot there, and there might even be an opportunity to combine forces or to do some kind of an interesting plan that would include parking for everyone. This is a location that would be good, that would be, public parking, and maybe even increase the facilities more than a second floor. And I like the idea of having all of the town administrative and public works office together. I think it's good. I think this is a good central location. It's walkable. It's sort of the hub of the bus stop. And as interesting an idea it is to have out of Causeway Island. I would like to see a plan eventually and something really creative and fun, maybe even relocating the road to make the spaces safe. I would have to say that my opinion would be this location out of the three. And also to let everybody know that there are residents still pursuing a pedestrian-friendly bridge, and the manager has scheduled some meetings with the engineer just to continue that conversation.
If I may. Yeah, I agree with Kelly completely, and with Stephanie. One of the things here is I don't agree for a moment to spend money to look at whether or not we're going to put it on the causeway. I can tell you, I will never vote for putting Town Hall on the causeway, so spending money there is a complete waste. That being said, the pumping station is here. I mean, the cost, unless we're going to separate it into parts, which doesn't seem to make much sense, we're wasting money by doing any analysis of moving some to another location. I think we're better off. I don't have any problem with trying to renovate this location, trying to upgrade the facilities. I have no problem if we want to try and get a proposal to try and do so at an economical number. Just not going to spend money for the causeway.
I have a question. Ron, didn't anyone ever do a plan for the town hall renovation?
No. Not that I'm aware of. I mean,
no one presented any plans?
No, when I first got here, or several years, I was told that there was the town hall was built with the possibility of adding a third floor. I asked the structural engineer, Mr. What is his name? Ali Abab. So he did a full look at that, and the foundations, maybe when the building was built, they would let you do it, but now, no.
I think if you check around, I think you're going to find that someone has already done plans for a two-story. Just,
not that I'm aware of.
I'm going to look into it further, but
I
think there's already been
and I also looked at how if you did add on where you could do it, aside from going up above, which technically would change the building, and it would be very, he said you couldn't do it because the foundations wouldn't support it. Adding to a third, to this building anyway.
If we did move the town hall and police department over to, let's say, 95th Street, is there any portion of this property that could be demolished and sold to somebody else without interfering with the infrastructure, for the pumping station and so forth, or would this entire structure have to remain in place?
You know what, I'd have to really, Randy and pull where everything is exactly, because I know a lot of it runs through the parking lots and around. I'm not sure, because you do have 3 or 4 big pipes that come in that connect all your sewer stations. And then of course, you have the main pump station, and that goes where that goes, so.
But it's GIS mapped.
No, it's GIS mapped. You could, I don't know if there's anything under this one.
I mean, I don't think that this, if somebody was buying property, in my perspective, that this would be the most desirable property to have. I can't believe somebody wants to be next to a pumping station. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't want to live near a pumping station. I wouldn't want to have my store right next to a pumping station. I think that, I mean, I understand, yes, would I like to be 10 years younger and, maybe 20 pounds lighter? Absolutely, but Is the 10 years younger happening? No. Maybe the 20 pounds, but not the 10 years younger. So we have to live.
All right.
This is what we got. We got a pumping station, we got this building, we got to work with what we got. This is what we got. This,
I have to
this
say-
is what makes sense.
I have to
So
say
let's,
that-
work with what we got here.
I get comments about the building from the public and staff. Some people really like it, some people are, they like to see, hate it. However, I'm happy, I'm one of the people that really come to appreciate everything about this building. It's well made. I mean, it definitely needs an update, an upgrade, and think it's a great idea to build everything, get all administrative offices, all key things off the floodplain, and maybe give the police department a little more room. One of the things that we don't talk about is Public Works. Their space, not many places have a place for their Public Works. Ours is very well contained. You really can't see what's going on in there. It has room for their vehicles, some of their materials that they use and things that they store. And even though they've done a great job lately cleaning out and getting everything out of there, it's really a space that's hard to duplicate. So,
Let me ask you a question. So since you can't answer the main question, which is whether or not it's feasible to actually create an easement for the lift station, and theoretically their question, can't we get that answer? Can't our engineer create that answer?
Yes,
So
definitely.
why don't we defer this to next month and actually get that answer, since, that's the question everyone's asking. So since we don't know.
Well, let me just say one thing, when you talk about deferring, this proposal includes something on here for doing on the causeway. So if there's absolutely no desire to do on the causeway, we can always look at this another time, but not this particular proposal.
You can't build on the causeway.
Right,
We're not allowed
but so the point here is, then why don't we just go ahead and vote against this here, and we can always bring it back later on without a proposal that talks about spending money on the causeway.
Just so you know, any item can be removed from the proposal, and, like if you want to take the causeway out, that would obviously reduce the cost of this.
So just come back to us with the actual...
Just come back next month with
Exactly.
Well,
an answer.
I guess before you even spend and do all that, I don't mean spending money, it's spending time. Time is as important as money. Do we want to build our town hall on the property that we have over on 95th, by the school? I mean, if we were going to keep that property, then we should have had that discussion and build our community center, a big community center on that property, instead of, and having that
We
flip flop.
actually had that discussion, and we did Calvin Giordano did a study on a freestanding community center, and
No, I understand that.
and those things. So, and it was very costly to do that.
That was only one design option. We didn't look at different options for that because, residents have mentioned just like kind of a bare bones gym facility that would probably only be a few million.
All right. I'd like to bring it back. Can we bring it back to next month so we can get answers so the engineer can be here? All right, thanks. So we're going to defer this. All right, item number 14.
Approval of a proposal from Astron in the amount of $102,568.
Mr. Mayor, can I talk?
No, I'm sorry, we deferred it. It's coming back next month. It's coming back next month.
To pay for, to replace an air conditioning unit that was 22 years old. I was really of the belief that we keep it together with duct tape until we do decide whether we're going to do a renovation or not. And unfortunately, the AC just couldn't do it. The AC that's being replaced is going to service here. It will service, everything that's currently here goes on. There is always the request to have individual thermostats that control the temperature in every room, which it's not included in this. That would be something that would be tackled during the renovation of the whole space, because it would need air dampeners and separate sending units. We never had those things. But in the new plan, I would expect to put that in.
All right, can I have a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, if I can actually, we're back to a situation here, we're talking about renovating the building, but committing, I mean, we don't have a choice here.
No, there is no choice.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so we have to do it, but...
There's a giant thing in the
what
parking lot.
Right, what I don't like here is, I mean, we're talking about, what we're essentially doing on renovating the building, tearing down part of the building, rebuilding it. So when this report comes out and talks about that this air conditioning it's justified in spending this because it's going to have a 23-year lifespan or something like that, it may have a 2-year lifespan, is what you're saying. So we have to rip the thing down when we...
No. That AC unit will be, because I don't anticipate ripping down that portion of the...
But it depends on the design, and so we don't know, I mean, I just want to make sure that's...
At worst case, we would move it. It could be moved. At worst case.
Sure, we can move everything.
Well, what's there can't be fixed, and we're spending $5,000 a month to rent
We don't have a choice, yeah.
equipment, right, so I mean...
Yeah, no, it's a no, you gotta do it.
No, I understand, and I agree, I want to make sure it's done, but again, I just want it, clear, unfortunately, I mean...
If J.C. was here, he would tell you, Marlene would tell you...
No, I just...
I'll always, we'll wait, just wait, wait
If
till we...
there's any way we can do something to potentially salvage part of this, if we do a renovation of this building, because otherwise we're...
I promise you, that AC is will not go to
I had a
waste.
question. Was this competitively bid?
No, I used the same company that's been maintaining this, as I think Bob or Josh pointed out, the rental equipment on this is $5,000 a month.
Yeah, but if we can save $30,000, it might be worth an extra month. Because, let me tell you, my condominium, my office condominium, you've been there. I think, there were 2 companies that bid for we need to replace the chillers on the roof. And I think that's pretty similar equipment to this, if I'm not mistaken, except my building is 9 stories.
We're not doing, I don't think we're doing the chillers, are we,
Well,
Randy?
It just seems that...
The new carrier chiller using...
It just seems that this doesn't seem competitive enough to me.
It wouldn't be hard to get a quote.
Right, and we could just fast track it, get bids on
You've got the
this.
number, you've got the name of the exact...
The temporary air conditioners are comfortable, right? I mean, those temporary units? They work, right? I mean, it's not as if everybody's sitting there dead.
No, not at all. I just...
All right, let's...
Well, we don't want to go months with that. I mean, I think within a month you could get 2 quotes and see if they're off base. I know
We should
Airstrom.
follow whatever protocol is to get competitive bids for this contract, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know Airstron, and Airstron is pretty expensive, but I think, the model and, to get... My question was, it wasn't broken down even to labor and what the unit costs, and I was surprised at that.
Labor is usually half the...
Well, that's where it should be broken down on the
Okay.
proposal.
Okay. All right, so we'll bring that back next month?
Yep.
All right, very good. All right, number 15.
We did 15, I believe. 16, discussion requested by Councilmember Reed for approval to instruct the town attorney to draft an ordinance with the required language for the charter amendment on term limits and separate election for mayor.
Can I just address one thing before? Go ahead. I don't want to take anything away, but I just want to make sure everybody is aware the state legislature right now is looking at changing around what we can and can't do on any form of the election and the dates and how it runs. So all of this may have to be restructured regardless.
I think it's just the dates, though. I don't think it would
No.
affect term limits or...
It won't affect necessarily term limits, but it will do the dates, but it also will require that we revisit everything as far as how we have it in the charter, as far as how we structure our individual elections.
Motion.
I'm sorry, but 15 is investment policy.
We will.
We did that, Josh.
I just want to say that.
Just for the sake of discussion, though, I'd like to make a motion.
You want to make a motion? Go ahead.
I make a motion that we instruct the attorney to draft an ordinance with the required language for charter amendment on term limits and separate election of mayor.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Thank you, Marlene, for putting together some great examples of previous conversations. I remember talking about it when Councilmember Temprano was here, and myself, Mr. Temprano, and Councilmember Salver were in favor of just putting it out there for the citizens. It comes up all the time. I sometimes get questions from people who never come to meetings, who watch them on TV. They don't really understand, and I'm not really an opponent or a proponent of it myself. I've actually spoken against it, but I am in favor of the citizens having a voice on these two things. In the past, I once presented 6 ideas that a candidate had brought forth, and after talking to the clerk, who's our supervisor of elections, certain things, ironically, just like you said, the day of the election, I used to think it would be great to have a November election, and after talking to the clerk, I'm convinced that having our own April election is good, but like you said, the state might take that away from us. That's one of the things they're really aiming for. But I think out of all the discussions, the two things that just keep popping up over and over again are the term limits and the direct election of mayor. And I'd like to say also that I did go back, after I brought this up in June, and we had a little discussion, I had mentioned the Meet the Candidates Forum last year. And I went back and I watched that section again, and just to clarify, because there was some discussion about, well, maybe it should be by petition, like we had before with the height limits. And after reviewing what was said and the support that was given, and thinking back to the differences between an issue like height that's really not personal, and the term limits especially, they can tend to be personal because it's about all of us sitting up here and what our tenure could possibly be, depending on, how we structure it and how the options that the attorney give us as far as the length of the time and different restrictions. But I think that there are a lot of people who have a philosophy about term limits in general, just their political opinion, whether, it's the president or the legislators who have term limits or county commissioners or whomever, us. And it's really unfair to ask 600 people to put their names down for an item that is going to go to the citizens, but it implies that they don't like one or more of us. It would make someone uncomfortable. We all have neighbors. So imagine that you have a neighbor that you discover has put their name down on a petition just merely for the philosophy that, they believe the citizens should have the voice. And, it's personal. I think that there's a reason why voting is a secret ballot. People should not be exposed. They should, as we go around and we campaign, believe it or not, a lot of people are under the impression, they say, oh, does so-and-so know how I vote? Oh, I'll vote for you, but don't tell anybody. It's a sacred thing to have that secret. So, and then as far as going to Tallahassee and lobbying, those legislators are changing all the time also. It's kind of, like two moving targets. So I would like to ask you all again respectfully to do this for the citizens, just to let them have their voice, and then if one or both of these things do not get voted in at the next possible election, which would probably be August or November, then we can finally put it to rest. But they will have their voice. That's what I humbly ask you to support tonight.
Any other discussion on this?
Well, I think you all know my view on it. I believe Mr. Yaffe, Mr. Salver agreed with it at the forum, and I'm all for term limits and electing a mayor. And it's too cumbersome to try and go out and get a petition of 600 within a certain time limit of, I don't know if it's days or a week, in order to get the people to put it on the ballot. And I think I don't know why everyone's avoiding it, but at least let them speak for themselves.
Is that accurate, Marlene? 600 people, and it's not accurate. I think it's 20%.
Yeah, I think it's 20%.
It is 20%, but it's not, the point I was going to make, it's not days or weeks. I disagree philosophically with you, Kelly, about, that people, I sign petitions, on election day. If there's something that's interesting to me, or, that I think I would support, I'll sign a petition, because why, shouldn't people have the opportunity to vote on it? I don't think people are really embarrassed or whatever. But anyways, I think there are a lot of things, that, we could talk about direct election of the vice mayor as well as the mayor, and districts, and direct election of the clerk. No offense. I mean, or, you know, strong mayor form of government rather than council manager. I mean, there's so many different things that we discussed over the years in charter and ordinance, so why stop there? And, you know, maybe people don't want to say to me, because I've been here for 21 years or whatever it is, well, you know, there should be term limits. And, you know, maybe that's true. Some people don't want to say that to me. But in all the years that I've been on the council, I really haven't heard that much discussion about it from the public. And I don't have an objection to it, but I believe more in the democratic process where if people really want something, you know, do the petition and put it on, you know, on the ballot. I don't...
Bob, with all due respect, and you know that I really do, and you didn't say that at the candidates forum.
I'm not contesting that. I didn't go back and listen to it, but I've thought about it a lot since then. Not a lot. On a couple of occasions, we've discussed it. So I'm not saying, you know, disputing what I said, but I've thought about it.
But meanwhile, it does come up quite often, and as you can see from the minutes, which I didn't know, Mr. Temprano also brought it up.
Right.
So evidently, he feels too, there could be something good for change on the council every once in a while, and get some fresh ideas and some, you know, fresh,
Listen, whatever the residents of the town want, I mean,
Well, that's all.
it's fine. I think it's just a question of the process of going about it. That's all. I'm not, you know, I don't know.
Stephanie, did you have a comment?
Well, I don't believe in term limits. I never have. I mean, you know, I never have said I am for it. I think that, you know, people are voted in, and if the citizens vote somebody in, and, you know, then they are doing a good job, then, and the citizens have the right to decide whether they want a person or not. I mean, if people, you know, if this is a very small town, sometimes, you know, look, I mean, Mrs. Morano ran and she won. I mean, the citizens decided that that's what, you know, they wanted. Kelly, you know, ran and she won. I mean, there is a process. New blood does come in. I don't think that, you know, having some, you know, a mix is bad. But I think it's up to the citizens to decide what they want. If they want a change in term limits, just like anything else, I agree with Bob, let him write a petition. I have no problem signing my name to something, but I have never said I am for term limits.
Yeah, and just to put my 2 cents in, I'm not in favor of term limits, and to be honest, as much as it may actually, you know, help me politically to have an elected mayor, I don't think it's what's best for this town. I mean, one of the things that makes Bay Harbor so stable politically is the fact that we're all equals. The fact that, you know, you don't have people that are thinking about how they're going to vote on an item because they know a year from now they're going to be running against their colleague. And you know, maybe if you look at some of the other municipalities in South Florida, you see politics at its worst, where you see colleagues that are somewhat starting to gun against each other, and it happens in small cities and it happens in large cities. And it's something that doesn't happen in Bay Harbor, because even on our worst day, and it's clear that, you know, not everyone may get along with everybody, at the end of the day, we're all equal, and we're all running for the opportunity to serve on this council. And it works, and it's worked since the beginning of our founders of this town, and there's no real reason for it to change, other than there's a few individuals in this town that are perceiving that to make this a political issue. And to be quite honest, if it's such a huge demand from the public, which you can see that the people, I honestly, I haven't seen who signed up, but I'm willing to bet you all the people that signed up to speak on this item are the same people who've spoken on almost every item tonight. If it was such a big issue, there would be people here. And if it was such an issue that the people truly want it, you can sign the petition. And as someone that's asked people to come out and vote on the agenda item for the height restriction, I know what it's like to go door to door to ask people to change the charter. And if there really is that much desire to do it, there's a way to do it. But I don't feel that the public wants it, and if they did, you know, people would ask. To be honest, I haven't had anybody ask from the public, other than the people that we're going to hear from right now, ask that we need term limits, or an elected mayor.
There are people that will not run in the elections because they get so down and dirty, and you know what I'm talking about.
To be honest,
They feel that they're going to get bullied, or, listen, I don't care. You can't intimidate me. But there are people who would like to stand up and come and run for the council, but they're in fear that they're going to be threatened, or they're going to be bullied, or they're going to be, you don't know about it, but it does happen, and that's why it's the same people up here all the time, because people now are afraid to come up and run.
So I just want to respond to that one point, because I don't think term limits have anything to do with nasty people and people who run dirty campaigns, which we've had in the past. That has nothing to do with term limits. That's just people who...
That's what keeps them in office.
People who are not civil. No, that doesn't keep me in office.
Well...
Okay, I mean, I've had people...
People not running, it keeps you in office.
No, but people have declined to run that I've talked to in the past because they didn't want to be subjected to people investigating them and saying nasty and unspeakable things. Well, what does that have to do with term limits? That has nothing to do with term limits.
Yes, it does, because if you weren't here for life, if you weren't here for 20 years, then we would be getting new blood in. And the people wouldn't mind running, and you'd have, well, not you, but I mean, there'd be no reason to threaten people or to bully people not to run.
I've never threatened or bullied people. I mean, if people want to vote against me, so be it.
I'm not talking about you.
I'm not saying you're accusing me.
I'm not talking about you, Josh. I'm not putting anybody up there, but it's happened before, and I could probably get a few people up here to say their experience and why they don't run, because they're afraid to. And that's where it comes back to term limits. But we can get off this subject, which I think is best.
We have public comment, so barring any other comment from Council, Catherine Kennedy, you're up.
I think I saw on YouTube the other day certain council people saying they wanted term limits for the League of Cities. Was that another county or? So you changed your mind? So you say one thing today, and the next day you say another? By the way, Bob, I would vote for you every time you ran. Okay, because I think you're a hell of a guy. And so with some of you up there, so this is not you're a terrific guy. But anyway, but going back, my problem is with the mayor. And I think if we could elect a mayor that's fair, that doesn't throw people out, that when you ask a question and you don't get an answer and you get frustrated, which is what happened to me, which is why I had to go downtown and complain and accused of always going to ethics because I won't get my questions answered, I think things would be okay, but it's not okay. And I have to tell you something, Bob, when you were the mayor, you were terrific. You let everybody talk and let everybody speak. And so this is not against you. And if I had my way, I'd vote you in every year as the mayor. Okay, that's just, I'm going to get backlash because I already got a nasty email on my Church by the Sea, so that's mine.
Okay?
Bob, wasn't there one year that you declined to run and then you were begged to come and fill out? I'm sorry, for council, weren't you going to skip a year and then at the very last minute?
Better over the years, you know.
But if you say one thing, it's on YouTube, so, it's like, oh my Lord, they're saying they're going to term limits, and then, now they're changing their mind. So, make up your mind what you want to do.
Thank you. Mrs. Newhut.
Francis Newhut, 9920 West Broadview Drive. Again, this has come up many times. You know my feelings on all of this. But I must tell you that in 2008, these four people who were sitting here, these four gentlemen, were on the charter and ordinance, and all they had to do was tell the attorney to please put this on the charter for our new charter, and they didn't. And you know what? Maybe it's an appearance, but every time it comes to votes, you four men who refused to have term limits and easily put this on to legislature did not. Okay, but you do, when you have votes, you seem to be together. Okay, but getting that out of the way, I'm happy to hear that legislation is now taking over, and I have to tell you that I've been communicating with Miami-Dade Elections because our elections are not kosher anymore. They're just not good. And one of the items was this last election, which was in 2015. And we're missing 94 votes. And what happened was, the number of ballots casted was 652, with including the 203 absentee ballots. According to, I have it here. This is all the people who voted in 2015 and checked off. Absentee ballots were with an A, and then you had checked off with the yet Y for voting. We're missing 94 votes. And this all got started when one of the candidates who was running was not on the list. That's how it all got started. So really, we have 95 missing votes, because according to this, it was a mistake, and she did vote. So I'm happy it's on legislation. If you people want to continue running this is obsolete now, not having term limits. Every municipality works with it. And you know what? Paper ballots do not work with these without having term limits. So you better start thinking about this.
Thank you.
It's 11 o'clock now.
No, the clock is wrong. It's actually only 9 o'clock.
It feels like we've been here for an hour.
Minutes here, you know, Jesus. Oh my God, 9 o'clock.
It's not as bad as...
It's a long day.
All right.
I'm already...
Yes, that's extra. Mr. Meyer?
I do not, and am not a believer in term limits. If the public want to keep reelecting the same people into office over and over again, so be it. However, I must strongly disagree with this notion that the position of mayor is equal with all of the others. There are so many different ways that the mayor exerts influence in terms of communicating and dealing with other municipalities, other agencies, other government officials, and so on and so forth. So the position of mayor is actually very important. And I think that for continuity purposes, you would want to have the mayor there for a 4-year term, so the person knows and understands that that person is going to be mayor all of this time, not that all of the work that this person would have done in a year, next April, boom, it'll be somebody else potentially being mayor. That doesn't bode well for the town either, if you're constantly revolving. But if you are to believe truly that everyone is equal, well then why don't you establish a rotating mayor system? And have at it. That'll be fair. And if somebody's turn comes up and they don't want to be mayor, go to the next person on the list, and so on and so forth. So I don't understand, frankly, the fundamental reason for not wanting to allow us to vote for our mayor. Term limits is a lot different than direct election of mayor. And, the process is quite difficult, and it should be, if you want to do that. But there's a way to shortcut it here. And if you want to be mayor, stand up, run for mayor, and that's the way it should be. I don't understand the philosophical, reasons why you would be opposed to having a 4-year term for mayor. Thank you.
Okay, can I make a comment? Yeah, go ahead.
There are arguments for both sides of that and both sides of term limits and so forth. But, when I was in Tallahassee last week talking to legislators, about the proposed municipal election dates law, which passed the House, but there isn't a companion bill yet in the Senate. One of the things that I was saying and others have said is, we've had this almost 70-year tradition in Bay Harbor Islands of, our political, system, so to speak, was established by Shepherd Broad almost 70 years ago, and we've done fine with it. That doesn't mean it can't change. But, that was one of the things I was saying that I think has worked well. We've had this, in essence, it does rotate the mayor because it's, usually been 2 or 3 years, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think there's something to be said for our traditions and, even, and like Kelly, like you said also about even the November elections versus the April elections, and, we were talking about that also because in some years, there's going to be a constitutional revision coming up. I don't know whether that's next year. You could get ballots that are like 20 pages long with all of this stuff on it, and you never get to the Bay Harbor. It's not that you don't get to it, but a lot of people get tired and they leave without getting to the local municipal issues. So, There's arguments on both sides, I understand them.
I just have a few comments. One, I would be open to change my motion to, add to discussion some of the things you said. I love Victor's idea about rotating the mayor, and then whoever doesn't want it, like, we talked about who's up next the last time that we had an organizational meeting. So let's just do that. Let's talk about rotating it, and then if somebody doesn't want it, like they have done before, they can just decline, and that way everyone gets a chance at it. So I would open the discussion if we vote to go forward, and then I would like to correct Mrs. Newhut, because, you lumped in all the men, but I'd like to point out that Councilmember Salver has supported this on more than one occasion. He voted for it when Mr. Temprano brought it up, and he stated in the candidates forum that he would support the people. And I'll give you credit for that, Isaac. We talked about it after the forum, because you're, the second most tenured person here, and, you're very confident. The other thing is, I don't think we've unseated an incumbent since about 2004, when Wallace and Weinstein ran. And that's sort of the beginning of my history here. And then before that, I know that there were a lot of times when there just wasn't an election. So I say that the history here is that if you're an incumbent, then you're pretty much in for as long as you want to. It's just, can you remember the last time before that, Marlene? I mean, in your history here? Doesn't happen a lot, I can tell you that.
I don't remember specifically, but I know it has happened before, when I looked at statistics.
That's what I said, 2004. Well, because, you know why? Because there was a huge issue. That was the PUD, and people, 83% voted for the height limit, and that was really the turning point in that election. So it takes something just so egregious, like doubling the height of your building, to get rid of an incumbent. That's really what happened that year.
All right, well, we already have enough discussion on this. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, anyone against?
Against.
All right, the against has it.
Oh, we lost you, Isaac.
Mayor, just before you move on, I just want to, on the record, say there's nothing, the elections department certified the elections last year.
Yes.
There is no issues with the elections. There's always undervotes. No one was lost. So you cannot add the votes and come up with specifically what you want, because it doesn't work mathematically. It's been explained before, but the elections department has been explained many times. Some people come in, vote for one, some people overvote, so the numbers are not going to work out specifically. The elections department did have a recent error, which you were all copied on, and there's nothing not kosher about our elections.
So could that also be absentee that were thrown out or something?
No, there were...
No, I mean, that there's a discrepancy too, that absentee...
No, there's only canvassing. When you canvass absentees, there are some that are rejected.
Right.
Because of no signature or some legal issues.
But it's just a few, not...
It's a few, and you could never have exact numbers. Because some people vote only for one as opposed to two or three.
Right.
All right.
Gotcha.
Item number 17.
Discussion requested by Mayor Leonard regarding starting talks with neighboring cities to share parks and recreational facilities for the benefit of the town's young residents.
Good luck.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know I do.
It's good that you're trying to...
I'll be very frank. I've had some discussions with, just low-key, what if this, what if that. I know for sure we're not going to get everything we want, but I think there's a possibility, so, to get something. So,
At least, I would expand it if you can, it's your no shot again, but give it a shot, Miami Shores, because we would love to be able to use their fields for some things.
Sure. You got it. No, that's good. Okay, so a motion and a second. All those in favor? Sorry.
You're talking about Miami Shores, and how far do we go that, with...
No, just discussion, see what can happen. No, I think my interest there would be if there's a way we can actually potentially use some of their fields, yeah. they might let us use the field for certain activities. We don't have the room to do certain...
Don't we have this field here that we use with the schools?
It's not as large. I'm saying if we ever wanted to do something much larger for sporting things, Shores is a little easier for that.
Whoever said lots of luck is right. I used to go to Isaac Salva when I was when we used to get along to his office on Kane Concourse. And I used to tell him, Isaac, my daughter used to work in the military. and she wanted to take some kids swimming. Remember, Isaac? And I went a couple of times. He would call the town manager's office to get my 2 grandchildren in there, and they would turn Isaac down. Right, Isaac? Twice he tried to do it. So good luck. I'm trying to get... And Bell Harbor, are you kidding? The recreation person lives in my building. If I take my grandchildren there, you have to have an ID, da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it's a great idea, Jordan, but it's not going to fly. If them kids are green, blue, black, red, gray, they're not getting in.
Bring back the interlocal agreement.
Well, record, Gordon.
Sorry?
I did not mean to be flippant about it. I hope you are successful in negotiations with our neighboring communities.
Yeah, well,
It's not going to fly. I mean, it's a great idea, but it's not going to happen, especially in Bell Harbor. They don't want our kids over there, trust me. It's a green, yellow, black, red, whatever. They don't want them.
Kelly?
I'd just like to point out that the second part of this, where you say, and make our programs available to them, we pretty much do. Our programs and our facilities, so that part is already done, right?
You know, that's, hold on a second, that, you're 100% right. We are very open. And I don't think there's any disbelief that we are not the ones that are open. The thing that I fear the most is finding out that one of our kids was, playing over on the Surfside side, and they couldn't get into the park because he didn't have $5 on him, and something, God forbid, happened. We need to, even if we can work it out just after school, I'm very open to seeing what we can do. But you're 100% right. It's not us. I mean, we're very open. All of our parks are open. And all our programming.
Well, they have to be open because we accept, we accept grants from the state.
Yes, we do.
We're compelled.
So,
If you'll indulge me for just 30 seconds for the good of the order, I have asked the clerk to look into some kind of a queuing system, and I know she sent an email to all the clerks in South Florida. She didn't get a good response. I'm asking you, Mayor, when you go to the League of Cities, would you please, maybe they could send an email, and maybe some of the electeds will respond, because I think some of the animosity that we've had tonight is directly affected by our juxtaposition, and that, you watch the TV again, and here I am, waving, and we had a little, dispute over who goes next, which is really crazy. And I know that in Hallandale, they have some system where when you're ready to talk, you push your button, and you sit back and wait, and then it's very civilized. So, it seems like there's a little difficulty managing us. Hallandale Beach, I believe.
But I think there should be some karma over here. There's 2 guys over here at karma.
Just, I think, whatever we can do to get over this, let's have technology help us.
remember, I used to...
Move to adjourn.
For a second.
Anytime, everybody.
Good night.
Adjourn.